Coming to you from the Eon Project studios, nestled in the forest of Harrisville, Rhode Island, the epicenter of paranormal activity in the Blackstone Valley. You're listening to Experts of Nothing with Mike and Jay.
Hello, friend.
Welcome.
Welcome to all.
Welcome once again to the Eon Project. It's been quite some time, Michael.
It's been quite a bit of time.
Yes.
I don't even remember the last time we recorded a show.
It's been, the last time was when the Earth went around the sun.
Well, you know, this is the appropriate time to have another episode because, as you know, sir.
Yes.
Here, nestled in the woods of New England, we've experienced a season change.
It's getting chilly.
It's chilly. It's crisp. The bugs are going away.
For those of you that don't live in an area, a geographic location that has the distinct four seasons,
yes,
you might not appreciate this.
If you don't have deciduous forests.
Deciduous.
You like that word?
And carnivorous.
Which one's your favorite kind of forest?
Is it carnivorous or carnivorous?
It's carnivorous.
Oh.
If it was carnivorous, the trees would eat you.
Oh, I like to be eaten.
Wow. This is a family show.
So what have you been doing since we've been
we've had lots of things.
Apart.
We've had lots of things going on. You know, life got in the way. But, you know, we wanted to get back to our first love.
Yes.
Which is not each other, but the podcast.
The podcast. You know, I went on a vision quest.
Ooh.
I went to I lived with a Sherpa family at the hill or the base of the Himalayan mountains.
I thought a Sherpa was a kind of like llama.
And we did a lot of the native intoxicants.
Ooh. And
I lived in a tent for quite some time. And they gave me a native name.
What was the
Tibetan name?
What was the Tibetan name?
And it was Pegala Sitokita.
Ooh, that sounds like something that I would order at Sancho's Mexican buffet.
It's good. It's tasty. Yes, it translates loosely translates into English as creepy white boy.
How accurate.
Yes.
Wow. Well, you know what? Actually, in reality, you didn't go to Tibet, but you did go to some cool places. You went on we both did. We both went on some trips.
Went on a few trips.
Where'd you go? Where'd you go that was fun?
Well, I went to Gettysburg. I went to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, which was a crucial and a pivotal battle during the American Civil War.
The largest land battle in the Western Hemisphere.
It was large. It was large. It was a 3-day battle. And, you know, I've always been a student of the Civil War.
Yes.
And but that just piqued my interest even further going there. I'd been there before, but it just reaffirmed my love and my interest in it. And I've gone down the rabbit hole of Civil War things.
Civil War is very interesting.
It is.
And, you know, just like anything, you can go on social media and you'll find groups that cater to just about any interests. I'm sure you found some of the more...
yes.
Let's say
diapers
questionable
and dog cages and things like that.
Questionable sites. You know, but you have to be careful because, as we know, sometimes your internet secrets come out to the light.
Yes.
You must be wary of things that you do.
Everything is tracked.
Everything is tracked,
and everything is logged.
Yeah. Well, should we? You know what? We didn't even talk about the topic.
Let's tease the topic.
The topic. Yeah. So we're going to continue in our series of kind of ethereal, large, encompassing topics. We talked about God. We talked about religion.
Death.
So today we're going to talk about something that's very, very prescient for the time. You like that word prescient?
Oh, what does that even mean?
Like timely.
That's a big word.
Like time. I'm full of big things.
let me hear that one again. What is it?
Prescient.
What does that mean? I'm scared.
So it means, you know, like
you don't know.
Appropriate.
Oh.
So prescient for the times. We're going to talk about fear. What fear is, what it encompasses, what scares you, what scares me, what scares the average Joe and Sally.
It's an interesting topic, especially this time of year with Halloween coming and everything.
Sure.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
What is your current underwear situation?
Like right now?
Well, you know, what do you do?
Want me to show you?
What do you do for your underdrawers now? Do you...
I've never changed... Okay, I have never changed as an adult my underwear choices with the exception of 3 months... 3 glorious months in 1996 at the United States Marine Corps Recruit Depot, South Carolina, Parris Island.
Yes.
In which they force you to wear tighty whities.
They do.
You are forced. You have no choice.
No choice.
And it gave me stomach aches. But ever since then, I have been a boxer man through and through.
The straight boxer.
Regular boxer.
How do you wear, let me ask you this, how do you wear the loosey boxers underneath like a pair of, you know, nice fitting pants, pantaloons?
Sometimes it is a challenge. You have to like adjust.
Yeah.
But see, I can't wear tight underwear. If I get a stomach ache.
But that's why you get the boxer briefs. It's the perfect
That's so
combination
stupid.
of the two.
No, I've had tried boxer briefs. They make you feel all constricted.
No.
No.
You haven't had the right ones yet.
I don't like them.
Let me ask you this. What are your color choices? Do you go exotic or do you go straight up, straightforward?
Well, they can't be white because of, evidentiary reasons. But,
Yes.
So always dark, usually black.
Black.
Yes.
Yes. I'm a black man myself.
Yep.
In regards to the underwear.
With underwear choices.
Because
Why do you ask?
I like yourself because I had to buy some new drawers today. Some tactical smalls, if you will. And I myself was a boxer guy back in the day, but then I realized they're just not comfortable. So I switched to the boxer briefs, but I was still more of an exotic kind of boxer brief guy.
We haven't discussed underwear.
Yeah.
But you seem like an exotic gold lame or leopard skin underwear.
I used to be.
Yeah.
I used to be, but now I like
briefs.
yourself. Just go with the straight black, like a silky black.
Yes. Yes. If they created an underwear that literally chilled your nether regions, I would buy that underwear.
Oh.
I like to have chilled nether regions.
You do?
Yeah, I like it nice and flowy.
But doesn't that shrivel everything up down there?
No, it just I need airflow.
Oh.
Anyway, this is a weird topic that we got on.
It is.
So let's get into the topic just slightly. And I know we do as we do on the show. And if you've listened to the show before, we kind of go off on tangents. This is an accurate representation of us in real life.
Yes.
We do this for just about everything. It drives people insane sometimes.
As a matter of fact, before the show, we sit and we talk and we kind of discuss this kind of nonsensical ramblings, and then we say we should talk about this on the show.
Because it's entertaining to some folk.
That is true.
Before we get into the topic of fear, I did want to ask a favor, not of you, of our lovely audience. Whatever you're doing right now, I want you to go on to, well, you don't have to do it right now. I want you to listen to the show. After the show, I want you to go on to whatever podcast site you're listening to and rate our show.
Please
leave comments, rate the show, because what we're finding is it's difficult for people to find our show.
Yes.
And the reason that it is because no one's going on and liking it. And I know we have listeners because we can see you.
And this is one of the great mysteries of the podcast realm.
Very big.
Because I myself go out there and I listen to various podcasts and I try to find random things and see what other people are up to, what they're doing, the different formats and things. And there's a lot of crap out there.
Mostly crap.
But they get thousands of listens, follows left and right, circumnavigating the earth with listens.
How do they do that?
I don't understand.
I don't know, but we get some listeners in Belgium. So
we had one guy in Belgium.
One guy in Belgium accidentally found the show.
And then he listened to it, he goes, Mon Dieu! And then he stopped listening.
Do they speak French in Belgium?
French and German, actually.
German?
Yes.
Is that a holdover from World War II?
Well, it's on the cusp between France and Germany.
I like cusps.
Me too.
Anyway, so let's get into the topic and then we'll kind of go from there.
Sure.
What do you got to say about fear?
So, fear. What is fear? Fear. Let's give the book definition.
Let's look at the definition.
So fear as a noun means an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat.
Oh.
Here's an example. He is a prey to irrational fears. But as a verb in the third person, it could mean be afraid of, as likely to be dangerous, painful, or threatening. Farmers fear that they will lose business.
I see.
So, what does fear mean to you when you think of it?
Okay, obviously fear is a very important. It's a very important trait. Is it a trait?
It's a human emotion, perhaps.
Well, whatever it is, it's essential for survival. So
yes,
it's been my supposition for a very long time that fear is a gift. And actually, there's a very famous book called The Gift of Fear. It was written by a guy named Gavin de Becker. Back in, I think it was the 80s. I read the book a long time ago. And essentially, I'm going to save you from having to read the book. Because it's a very good book, but it's mostly kind of, a little scholarly.
Sure.
In places.
A little dry at times.
Right. But anyway, the gist of it is that fear is a gift, as the title says. And you should pay attention to fear because it is ingrained within you and will save you from certain death, or serious bodily harm. So
there obviously are innate fears that scientists will say that you are born with.
Yes.
Okay. But then there are a series of rational and irrational fears. So if you're born with an innate fear of, say, tigers, for example, right? So our ancestors would have an innate fear of animals like that, animals of
predatory
animals that
Right.
could potentially kill and eat you, right?
Right.
So if you weren't in fear of them, you would just walk up to a little tiger and be like, "Oh, hey, little tiger," and then he would maul you and kill you and
Okay,
eat you.
so here's my question, because
Yes.
you're a fairly smart individual sometimes.
Yeah.
How is that even possible? How is someone as a biological organism know to be afraid of certain things? How is that? I understand through teaching and through following the example of others, you learn what fear is. But
Well, it's
how is it possible?
Well, it's like any other instinct that any animal in the animal kingdom would have.
But how does that work? How does an instinct work?
Well, it's part of evolution. It's part of an evolutionary process to where your early ancestors were probably eaten by lions or tigers.
Right.
But as time wore on, you developed and evolved into understanding innately that you should be in fear of these things.
It's just a strange process to me.
Well, it is.
People are just automatically, and it's not just people. I mean, there's, like you said, all animals have some kind of instinct. You would know this. Is it true that human beings are the only animals that don't inherently know how to swim, or one of the only?
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
I don't know scientifically if that's true or not.
Because if you throw just about any animal into the water, it's going to automatically know that it's got to swim.
Yes.
Except people, they just sink like a rock.
Well, I've seen examples of young infants basically where they don't necessarily teach them to swim, but they teach them to be able to remain buoyant and keep their head above water. They start this at a very early age. But like you said, though, it's a taught behavior.
Right.
It's not something that is instinctual. They can't, if they sink to if you threw your newborn baby into the bottom of the pool,
Right.
it would probably sink to the bottom and never come back to the top.
You
Which
know-
I don't recommend doing.
No.
Disclaimer.
You could get into some legal trouble with that. But it's funny because, like you said, this time of year we talk about fear a lot because it's gonna, we're into the autumn season. We're gonna be having Halloween here soon.
Yes.
Well, in about a month. But the entire Halloween industry, the entire Halloween theme is based on fear, right?
Yes.
This is the month of where it's okay to watch horror movies. I watch horror movies all year. It doesn't matter to me. But a lot of people don't, and they hold off until this time of year. So fear becomes an important part of everyday life. You see the jack-o'-lanterns around, and I tend to bore folk with, do you, mostly my kids, do you know how jack-o'-lanterns were formed initially and where they come from? And I bore everyone. I'm not going to do that now.
So when you carve a jack-o'-lantern, do you carve it like the traditional way with like the
triangle eyes?
the teeth that are like jagged, or do you carve just like a circle hole in the mouth region and then have fun with it? What do you do?
Well, that's a personal decision. I have some public display jack-o'-lanterns and some private.
But speaking of fear, though, as time wears on, things change for you and your perspective changes as you get older.
Yes.
So when you're a young person, things that scare you as a youth don't necessarily scare you as an adult. And if we want to stay with the Halloween theme for a second, scary movies as a child, and you watch them now and you're like, this is completely ridiculous.
Yeah. I find that most things like that, conversely, there are certain fears that you have your whole life, right? And that would be the probably irrational fears.
Yes.
Because as you get older, the rational part of you takes over and you rationalize those fears away.
Right.
I used to be afraid of the dark when I was a kid. Now I can't sleep if there's any light.
Sure.
It has to be as dark as the pit of Hades in my room in order for me to have a nice slumber.
I see.
Also needs to be cold. Do you like to sleep in the cold? I love sleeping in the
I
cold.
like it to be tepid.
Nut?
Tepid.
What's a good sleeping temperature for you?
65.
Yeah, okay.
Or so.
That's a little chilly. I like that. 65 is good.
But I like to have a little fan blowing too.
For the white noise or
For
to have the breeze?
for the noise and a little bit of the fresh breeze.
Okay, but let me
me
ask you this. So you have the fresh, 65 degrees. You have the little breeze going. It's a pleasant evening.
Yes.
Do you have to have covers on? Or
I
you
like the covers.
But are you fully covered or do you have a foot sticking out?
No. I have to be fully
I need a
engulfed in
ventilation.
No, you can't.
You need to have a little bit of ventilation.
Have you ever tried to sleep above the covers?
Yeah, sometimes.
It's too uncomfortable.
Usually when you're drunk, you just fall asleep like that.
I feel like I'm exposed to the world.
What do you think's going to
At
happen?
any moment, something could come up and touch me.
That is an irrational, not a fear, that's an irrational safety.
Yes.
And it's an illusionary safety. You think that the covers will protect you from whatever's coming at you.
Yes.
And it clearly will not.
Yes.
But you think that.
Well, let me ask you this. So, and this goes in line with our topic today.
Everything does.
Have you ever seen this thing with the weighted blanket? What is the concept of the weighted blanket? Does it give people comfort? Does it subside the fear of something?
I assume it does. I don't have one. But I think it's probably it's related to, you have dogs. I have dogs. We like dogs, and you know a lot about dogs. There are the thunder coats.
I've seen those
that dogs have.
Yeah.
And from what I read, from what I understand, you put the thunder coat on. It's a weighted coat, and it like hugs the dog, and it makes the dog feel secure.
I see.
So I think that the concept is probably similar to the weighted blanket. I don't know. To me, I would feel like it was suffocating me. Imagine if your head got caught underneath the weighted blanket, you can't get it out. Well, suffocate, or somebody farts in there.
Well, it's similar to, you ever had a heavy woman laying on you? That is suffocating.
It depends on if my wife is listening to the show. If she is, then no.
Okay.
So
we talk about irrational fear. We talk about irrational fears, and we could also categorize that as a phobia, I would guess, right?
Yes.
So you talked a little bit about a fear that you would have as a youth, an irrational fear, but then you grow out of it.
Yes.
Here's an irrational fear that I've had as a youth that continues to this day. Ooh. And I don't know where it comes from, and it may, the origins may, because we talked about reincarnation before.
Yes.
And whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. I think there's some validity to that theory. So I have a fear of bridges, large bridges.
Yeah. Is it? Wait, let me stop
Yes.
you. Are you going to elaborate on that? Because I have a question about the bridges.
I will, but go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I too don't enjoy bridges, mostly because it is an irrational fear because the road is the same width usually. Well, sometimes it's more narrow on bridges. But is your fear related to falling off the bridge when you're driving, or the bridge height, or what is it about the bridge?
I think it's a combination of things. So I can go on a bridge during the day, and I'm still frightened.
Yep.
So when I go over a bridge, I have to look straight ahead.
Yes.
I have to grasp the wheel with two hands as hard as I can. I cannot look to the left or to the right.
Yeah.
And I have to concentrate on what I'm doing.
I do
because I'm afraid at any moment the bridge could collapse.
Yes. And you wouldn't be able to do anything about it then. What are you going to do?
Well, I would be even more scared as I'm falling to the water below.
That's a fear that a lot of people have. I don't like driving over bridges either. Have you ever been down, and you've traveled the world, and you used to live down in that in the heartland of America? Not really. What do they call the
Mid-Atlantic?
Virginia, Mid-Atlantic. Have you ever been on the Chesapeake Bay Bridge?
Yes.
It's like a 12-mile, 15-mile long bridge.
It's frightening.
It's incredibly frightening.
Yes.
Because I thought about the whole time. I'm driving down there. I got my kids, my wife and kids, and there's no you could just fall into the water.
Yes.
Right? You're in the middle of the ocean, basically.
You know what's even worse than that is, and this is where my fear is compounded, and that is going over these bridges at nighttime.
What is it about nighttime? Because
nighttime
shouldn't that be easier because you can't see?
Well, no, it's much more frightening.
Why is it more frightening?
Well, because you see the water just glistening below and a few lights in the distance, and you're like, I don't stand a chance. I don't stand a chance.
You don't stand a chance anyway if you fall off.
I go off this bridge.
That's okay.
And any wreck could happen. You could roll your car over and roll off the side. I mean, there's a number of things that could happen. Yeah. So, am I the only one that has this? Is this an irrational fear, or is this a rational fear?
I just, I have the same issue with bridges sometimes. Not all the time. It just depends on the bridge. So, for me, it's the higher bridge. Like, where we live in New England, there's a lot of bridges, right? The Newport Bridge is especially scary down in Newport, Rhode Island, because it's very high.
Yes.
So you have to go way up. To me, it's going up. It's almost like going on a roller coaster.
Sure.
You're going up, you have the anxiety of going up the hill.
Right.
And then it levels off.
And, we see around here, they don't really maintain the roads very well and the bridges. So you wonder, are they taking care of this bridge? Is it going to rot out from under me?
Well, what are the chances that it's going to happen while you're driving over it?
I've got bad luck.
That is true. So we're talking about fears. If you're just, which I don't, it's not like a radio show where people join in the middle. But before, I want to go on a tangent because I forgot about to ask you about this.
Okay.
You mentioned before you went on a rabbit hole tangent down the Civil War.
Yes.
Right. I've been going down into classic wrestling from the 1980s.
I like that too. Yeah.
1890s.
Wow.
The 1990s and the 1980s. And you're pretty knowledgeable about that whole era in wrestling. Have you ever heard of a concept called kayfabe?
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't know what that was up until last week. So I was binge watching this show, and it's called The Dark Side of the Ring.
I've heard about this.
It's terrific. If you have Hulu,
I haven't seen it yet.
If you have Hulu, it's on there. If you don't, I'm sure you can find it streaming someplace. There's 3 seasons of maybe 10 episodes each. Each one talks about it's a documentary about wrestling. And they talk quite a bit about kayfabe, which I didn't know what that was. But up until the 90s, basically, late 80s, the wrestlers, the professional wrestlers maintained this concept of kayfabe, which basically means you are never let anybody else know that wrestling isn't real.
Correct. Like a magician.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It's like magician's secrets.
Yep.
But my question to you is, when in the 1980s, when I was a kid, I knew that wrestling wasn't real. Everybody knew that wrestling wasn't real. Why is this a thing?
Well, here's the thing for me. So as a youth, I watched it. I enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. I got into it.
I did too.
It didn't even cross my mind that it wasn't real.
Really?
I just enjoyed it for what it was. The first time that my eyes were open, it was almost like eyes wide shut kind of thing.
Oh, that's a good movie, by the way.
Is when Hulk Hogan and King Kong Bundy were having a steel cage match. And Hogan smashed Bundy's head against the steel cage.
Yep.
And Bundy went down face first into the canvas. Mm-hmm. And the camera zoomed in, and you could clearly see him pulling a razor blade out of his wristband, because they used to slice themselves. And he would slice his forehead, and he started bleeding. I go,
yep.
He just cut himself.
Yes.
So that's when I knew it wasn't real.
But yeah, I mean, and I just always assumed it was not real, because like things like that, and you could see like Hulk Hogan's famous leg drop. Like he goes off the ropes and he drops a leg. He doesn't even really hit you with the leg. He lands on his butt. Maybe the back of his thigh hits you. It's not hard.
No, but in reality, though, they do screw up.
Yeah.
At times, and these moves do hurt people.
Oh no, and these
on
are
occasion.
these are incredible athletes, and they're very strong, and they work on their physique constantly, and it's a taxing activity. I'm not going to say it's a sport, because it's more like a very taxing activity.
The locker room is it's crazy what happens in the showers afterwards.
Oh yeah, what happens in the shower?
Well,
actually, how do you know?
And that's actually a perfect segue into what I'm going to talk about next.
Let's do it.
So getting back into the fear topic. Mm-hmm. So you have certain fears. There are certain situations that are out of your control at times.
Yes.
That you are thrust into a situation that you may have a fear of.
I like thrusting things.
But you have no control over it. So it's like a total immersion therapy kind of thing, where you're put in a situation that you have fear, but you have no control over. You have to go through with it, and then suddenly your fear subsides in a way. Mm-hmm. So an example of that would be, Mike talked about Marine Corps boot camp earlier. Mm-hmm. So, I grew up in a sheltered life. Yeah. I never really went out and did much on my own. I very rarely, as a youth, went on adventures and things of that sort. So when I was 18 years old and I joined the Marine Corps and I went to boot camp, and that was a complete shock to me.
Well, it was shocking for everybody.
Shock for everybody, but to me especially.
Yeah.
It was a shock to my system. Suddenly I find myself completely naked in the shower with a bunch of other men.
Yes.
Or doing a number 2 on a toilet surrounded by a bunch of other men.
No stalls.
No stalls and nothing.
No dividers.
And you're thrust into these situations that I would never... that would be fearful of, in reality, and never find myself in on my own accord.
But isn't it amazing how quickly you adapt to those situations?
You do,
and before you know it, you're having a conversation with Joey from Lexington, Kentucky.
Yes,
and he's telling you about his family while you're both taking a dump.
Yes,
and that's it's just normal.
And just a quick aside to that. So Mike and I were fortunate enough to go to boot camp together, and we're in the same training platoon.
Ooh.
So,
hello.
So one evening where we had a little bit of free time, there wasn't much, but at that time you would get your mail and you would go into the head or the bathroom and you would have a seat on the bowl and you would read your mail and you would converse with the people to the left and to the right of you, as if it was just commonplace, because you can see everybody and everybody's just in a communal experience.
And it smells great in there.
A communal experience. So at that moment, Mike decided he was going to tell a story to everyone in the toilet.
I like telling stories.
And he started cursing and dropped an F-bomb.
Oh.
And at this moment, the senior drill instructor, who was the head of the drill instructors, walked by the head at this point and heard Mike dropping an F-bomb. And he was not happy about this.
Which is funny, because he dropped F-bombs every 30 seconds.
And he came in and he wanted to know, and his exact words were, who was the potty mouth? And, of course, you cannot lie.
Of course. Well, I have integrity, sir.
And Mike has integrity. So he raised his hand, and the senior drill instructor came over and said, you have a potty mouth. Get off the toilet and stick your head in the toilet and flush the toilet and say, I have a potty mouth.
This is completely accurate.
And Mike had to do that. He had to put his head in the soiled toilet
I did.
and flush it. all while proclaiming that he had a potty mouth.
It was my soiled toilet,
Yes,
at least.
yes.
At the very least.
At least it was yours. And people listening that have never had an experience like this are saying, why would you do such a thing?
Well, you kind of have to.
You don't have a choice. You're essentially in prison.
Yeah.
And you must do what they say.
But fear plays a good part in that. And anytime someone goes into a situation like that, for us it was that. Some people, for them, it would be going to, maybe a new school or college or
Yes.
maybe even prison. Somebody who gets thrust into prison.
Ooh, thrust.
Would be facing that same kind of fear. Thankfully, it has not been my experience. But, yeah. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so even as an adult, I have fears. I have more. I guess they could be even more anxieties. Would anxieties be fears?
I guess it depends on what it like. If you're anxious about what's going to happen next, or you have a lot of work to do, or you're juggling things as we all do.
Yes,
that's not a fear, I would say.
Well, what about this? What are your thoughts on? You ever been into, like, you walk into a restaurant or some sort of establishment, and it's not well defined?
Oh no!
And you go in.
No, I leave.
You got to leave,
no,
right?
I'm not
Do you
going
get
in
nervous when you walk in there?
I'm not going in there, and it drives my wife insane. So yeah, we'll walk into a place, and we don't go out very often. But sometimes when you go in, okay, for instance, when you walk into a casual dining establishment, what's the first thing that you should see when you open the doors?
Well, you should walk in. There should be a defined waiting area.
Yes.
And there should be a hostess there
That
waiting
should
to
be.
greet you.
There should be. Now, sometimes there is nobody at the counter,
Right.
which is okay. You wait for somebody. However, if I walk into a restaurant and there's no stand, I'm leaving because I don't know what to do.
Because sometimes you walk in and you're directly into the dining area.
Yeah. What do? You just stand there like a mope?
People are looking at
People
you.
look at you. You know what the best thing to do would be to steal something off of someone's plate and run. Because what are they really going to do? Is someone going to chase you down? Okay. Is someone going to chase you down because you stole a chicken leg off their plate and ran?
Well, it's possible.
No one's going to chase me down, I can tell you that.
You're pretty fleet-footed, are you?
I can run. I'm like a crocodile. I run very quickly for very short distances. And if you zigzag, I can't catch you.
Okay.
Anyway, that's interesting.
All right, so that was the first part of the show.
Yeah.
We're about at the halfway point, and traditionally here on the Eon Project program, we get to about 30 minutes or so. We take a quick break. We will have a little interlude, and we'll get to
A romantic
little bit.
interlude.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about. Well, we're going to play a musical number because we love music here on the Eon Project, as we've stated previously in the past. And there's an up and coming band out of the Midwest that we want to promote here on the Eon Project, and they're called the Red Queen Project.
Yes.
And the Red Queen Project is based out of Bluffton, Indiana, and they're currently touring the local area out there in Bluffton. So if you're in the Fort Wayne, Bluffton area, and you want to see the Red Queen Project,
Good music scene out there in Fort Wayne.
absolutely, look them up on Facebook. We're going to play one of their latest singles here coming up shortly, and these guys are out there, they're working hard and hoping to get a little bit more exposure. And their first single that they're going to be releasing here very soon is a single called Nephilim.
Ooh.
What are the Nephilim, Mike?
The Nephilim were the unholy offspring of fallen angels and human women.
Oh, that is correct.
Yes.
The Nephilim.
Nephilim.
Coming up.
You see me out here, I'm looking up, but you can't help not look down at me. I see you up there on your throne. Tell me everything you need. When I fall to the ground, take your eyes and bring around.
and that was Nephilim by the Red Queen Project.
Really cool band.
Absolutely.
Check
Those
them out.
guys are awesome. I love them.
You know what's funny?
Yes.
They have. You should definitely check them out on Facebook. They have a great logo, and they have an awesome T-shirt. It's their logo. It's. I don't want to take away from it by describing it.
I'm actually still waiting for my T-shirt.
I would love a T-shirt if they're listening.
I've been asking for quite some time, and I keep getting blown off.
Do you like band T-shirts?
You know, I don't. So I've changed. You know, we talked about black underwear earlier.
Yeah.
I don't. What shirt am I wearing right now?
It's a black shirt.
It's a plain black shirt. That's all I wear now.
Yeah, I'm going that direction too. I used to have a lot of logo shirts, and I don't really care for that anymore. More basic stuff for me. But do you recall? We weren't in high school. We were not like music folks to the point where, you know how you fall into groups in high school, whether you're a jock or a stoner or a geek or whatever.
Yeah.
We were just kind of between groups. But do you recall there was a store down in Warwick, Rhode Island, that sold band T-shirts?
Yes.
And they had like every shirt from every
It's like
band.
T-shirt City or something.
Something like that. It was like the mecca of shirts. And I just remember going there, looking through all the shirts. I'm like, man, I really love this Megadeth shirt, but I'm not wearing it to school.
I actually bought a couple Metallica shirts.
Metallica shirts?
I don't know where I got the money
You
from.
had a Kill 'Em All shirt.
I did.
I remember with the sledgehammer and the
Yes.
blood. I remember that one.
Yeah.
And you had Ride the Lightning too, I think.
I had a few.
Anyway, I just figured I'd throw that in there.
That was a fear.
Yeah.
That wasn't a fear. But anyway, so after that musical interlude, we're going to do a little quick trivia. Just 3 quick questions. And the reason I'm doing this is because Mike has made it a point to make me look stupid on occasion
I have not. You did that yourself.
on various trivia contests.
It's not my fault you don't know anything.
So I found this one to be quite interesting because I'm a student of history and I like old things.
Old women.
So this book was actually given to me by my sperm donor, which would be my father,
Your old man.
who is still alive. He's ancient.
He's one of the most interesting men you'll ever meet.
He's very interesting. And as a matter of fact, he's on a vision quest
Yes.
right now, and he's driving around various places in the great southwest of the United States.
I don't want to give him a plug, but he wrote an autobiography, which is really interesting too.
It was his memoirs. It was
memoirs.
quite interesting, to say the least.
He's an interesting guy.
But anyway, I guess apparently he was digging through somebody's basement. I don't know why he was in there. And
Let's not speculate.
He found this book, and he gave it to me, and it has no binding on it.
Is it the Necronomicon?
But it's an old trivia. It's actually called the Trivia Encyclopedia.
Oh,
and
but it looks old.
It dates back to 1974.
Oh, that's old.
And it was compiled by a guy named Fred Worth.
Oh, was he worth much?
I don't know if he was worth much. I don't know if he's still alive or not.
Oh.
But it's an interesting read because it's
You read a trivia book.
it's like a dictionary. In other words, it's alphabetical.
Okay.
And there's little key words, and then there's something about. It tells you a little bit about the words.
Okay.
So I went through this book, and I just took out 3 quick questions that I thought
Okay.
that weren't too difficult.
You just picked them. Okay. You're telegraphing that I'm not going to get any right because
No.
you're trying to make me look foolish.
I didn't make them ridiculously hard. I made them to be something that you could answer.
Potentially. Okay,
Okay?
let's go.
So here's the first one.
Do it up.
Are you ready?
I am.
Should I put my Alex Trebek voice on? God
Poor
rest his
Alex
soul.
Trebek. You can't. That's too soon.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
What was Friendship 7? What was Friendship 7?
Friendship 7.
Yes.
It sounds like a space mission. Mm-hmm. Was it the? Was it the first manned mission into orbit?
More specific.
Alan Shepard. Oh, was it?
Very close. There was
John Glenn.
Yes, it was John
John
Glenn's
Glenn.
capsule that he
Yep.
orbited the Earth in.
Friendship 7. Okay.
Friendship 7.
See, I was right.
No, you were on the right track.
Yeah, I was
Good
right.
job. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, this one's easy. This one's kind of easy. I know this one from 321 Contact.
Oh,
What does SCUBA stand for? SCUBA. SCUBA, like scuba diving.
like scuba diving.
Yes.
That would be self-contained underwater breathing apparatus.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ah,
See?
congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very smart.
You're a scuba guy, aren't you?
I've never been scuba. No, as a matter of fact, I am afraid of the water.
That goes
We're
through
going to talk
fears.
about that in a minute.
We're going to talk about more water fears.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Last one.
Okay.
What U.S. military operation was known as Operation Detachment? Operation Detachment.
Operation Detachment.
It's a very famous, I'll give you a clue, amphibious operation.
Operation Detachment, amphibious operation. Was it in World War II?
Yes.
Okay. I would
another clue.
say the invasion of Tarawa.
Whoa. It was
correct?
close. It was part of the Pacific Campaign during World War II, but it was
Guadalcanal?
actually the invasion of Iwo Jima.
Detachment, really?
Yes, Operation Detachment.
So where do they get the names for military
Yeah, they
operations?
just make
they
crap.
make stuff
They just
up.
make it up.
Yeah. There's a lot of weird operations.
There is.
You know, there's a conspiracy theory that we're not going to talk about it today, but if you want to go down a weirdo rabbit hole, look up Operation Martyr.
Ooh, I haven't heard of this. We'll just leave it at that.
Leave it at that. Make sure that you have a VPN
Yes.
when you do that.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about. So we're going to get back into the fear and the concept of fear and
Yes.
why are we afraid of things and things of that sort here in a second. And this kind of is along the same lines, but it's a little bit of a delve. Is that a word? Delve? Delving.
We're going to delve into it.
So scary dreams.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Reoccurring dreams.
Yes.
And dreams are a whole other episode unto themselves.
Dreams are.
But as a youth, I don't remember exactly the time frame, but as a kid, I remember having a reoccurring scary dream. And I'm going to explain it to you because I
Okay.
still remember it. It's not going to be frightening to anybody. But at the time,
But it was
as a
frightening to
kid,
you.
It was. It
Right.
was scary to me.
Right.
So it would be this reoccurring dream where I would be basically in the center of a darkened room. I could see my body, myself.
Did you have clothes on?
I had clothes.
Ooh, you were
And-
clothed.
and it was completely black around me, like a black hole. I couldn't see anything. And then a loud, ominous voice would come over me and would say something. It would say,
What did it say?
"Hello, I'm going to get you." And it would just like repeat these
It would
strange.
say that?
Well, that was one of the things, but it would repeat strange phrases over and over.
So you
again.
just lay there, or were you able to move?
and I couldn't move, and I
Oh.
would be in a panic.
Okay.
But then I would finally awake, and then, of course, I would run into my parents' room, and I would have to sleep with them because I would be frightened. This happened to me probably for 5 years.
You know what that
over
sounds
the course
like?
of time.
We've never discussed this before. You know what that sounds like?
No.
It sounds like sleep paralysis, where you're half asleep and half awake, and your body is not able to. You're just not able to move, and something is happening that's not real. It's like a dream that's happening to you. It's called sleep paralysis, and it's often related to. It's often reported, I should say, during paranormal activity within haunted houses.
Well, I would disagree with you on this front.
Okay.
I've had sleep paralysis before as an adult.
Really?
And it's quite frightening.
I would assume that it is.
Basically, the concept behind it is, so when you go to sleep and you start to get into REM sleep, which is your
Right.
deep sleep, where you start dreaming and things like that, and what happens is your body will literally, your brain will shut down your body.
Yes.
So when you're having a when you're having a dream that would, let's say you're running in your dream or
Right.
you're moving around a lot, your brain shuts your body down, so you don't do that in the bed. You don't run out of your bed or
Right.
jump out of the bed. So you can't really move.
Right.
So what happens is when you're in the middle of REM sleep, you almost come out of REM sleep slightly. Your brain will, but your body is still in REM sleep. So you're semi-conscious and you can see the room and you see everything that's going on around you, but you cannot move. You're paralyzed in your bed.
But is there a dream happening at the time? Are you seeing things?
It starts with a dream, but then you come out of the dream and then you're conscious.
So you're consciously awake,
Yes.
but you can't move.
Correct.
That's
They used
weird.
to call it the old Hag Syndrome.
Yes. Yes.
Because people would say, "Oh, there was somebody sitting on my
Right.
chest and I couldn't move."
Right, but why were they saying that somebody was sitting on the chest? Was it an actual
Because
person?
you couldn't move.
Sometimes you pay extra for them to sit
Yes,
on your
you
chest
do.
and do other things on your chest.
But I've actually had that happen to me. It hasn't happened recently, but it's happened to me in the past.
Interesting.
And it's a bit frightening. It's very fearful. It makes you
can imagine.
scared.
Yeah.
Because you don't really know what's happening, so you're
Right.
trying to talk yourself out of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Interesting. I bet a lot of people have similar experiences.
It's not paranormal. It's just
No.
a matter of physiology and
It's just-
kind of
yeah.
what happens while you're sleeping.
Plus, speaking of, real quickly, a lot of people report paranormal activity when they're in that half awake, half asleep phase.
Yes.
They're just dreaming it.
Right.
And you wonder why it's happening at that time because you're dreaming it. It's not real.
The brain can play tricks on you.
Sure. Anyway,
It's not necessarily a paranormal event.
but okay. So you done with dreams?
I am.
All right. Let me get into one that we just briefly touched on a minute ago.
Yep.
And that's the ocean. I've always had a fear of the ocean from the time I was little, and I think part of it stems from a movie
Yes.
that came out in 1975. 75? 75.
Well, I don't know what movie you're talking about.
Jaws.
Yeah. Yeah.
75, 76 in that time?
Yeah.
Anyway, Jaws effed me up for a long time.
You and everybody else.
Yeah, no, I know, but it got to the point, like, I remember seeing that movie, because, when we grew up in the 80s, parents didn't care what you watched.
No.
They didn't care. We were watching the most grisly, well, first of all, Jaws is only PG-13.
Right.
But it's scary.
When it came out, it wasn't PG-13 because they didn't have PG-13 back then.
Oh, well, that's what it is. It was
PG.
PG,
Yeah.
but it's PG-13 now. But yeah, it was just PG. That should have been an R-rated movie, I feel like. But it didn't matter because parents let you watch R-rated movies when you were kids. We did it all the time. And I remember seeing Jaws and being so freaked out that a shark was going to eat me that I didn't want to go in my neighbor's swimming pool because I thought there would be a shark in there.
Yes.
That's an irrational fear.
Yes.
And that part of it, I don't go swim in the ocean a lot, but I have been. Sometimes you're in the ocean and you don't think of that. But then if that thought creeps into your head, all of a sudden I'm getting out of the water, man.
So here's the thing, though. That, to me, and I tell this to people all the time, they think I'm nuts. That is not an irrational fear. If you're in the ocean,
yes,
you're
at risk.
You are you're out of your element.
Yeah.
And you have no control over what is happening beneath the surface when you're in the ocean, especially
that's true.
Like deeper water.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, okay, and this is an important distinction. So, in the surf area, I'm not very scared, right? But the funny thing is, most shark attacks happen in that surf area.
Sure.
That's where you get bit. But I have been in the deep ocean. That's frightening as hell to me, and it's mostly because I think it's the vastness of the ocean, and you're so small, and you're like, if I was ever left out here, and somehow you fell off a boat, let's say, and the boat kept going. Imagine how terrifying that would be, just stuck in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, you know what I think too. Part of it is, it's the fear of the water and what's beneath it, but it's also the fear of. You don't have control. You have zero control of what's going on beneath you.
Right.
Like any other situation. Well, you're in a plane flying. You're not the pilot, so you have no control. Right. So it's a lot scarier than if you were in control of the vehicle, kind of thing.
Yeah, but you don't have that same fear when you're driving and someone's driving you in a car.
Well, I do.
Or maybe you do. Okay, so moving on from the ocean, here's another one that's kind of similar. I wanted to kind of marry these together. Do you realize how many people every year go missing from national park areas? It's alarming how many people go missing.
Well, and that just goes to, and I saw a documentary recently about a young lady from, I think she was from Canada, but she was a young, early 20s, decided that she was going to go on some adventure all by herself.
Well, that's obviously a problem.
I'm like,
you don't do that.
What are you doing?
Right.
Why are you traveling the world by yourself as a 20-year-old woman? That's scary,
bad,
and fearful.
Sure,
I'd be fearful of that.
Yeah, but
it's reckless.
Yes, but so to your point, a lot of people that go missing from. I'm speaking of national parks because they're huge and they're there can be no development on them, so they're largely wild.
Sure.
And people go missing from there. And like you said, a lot of them are alone. So what do you think happens to these people? They just go off into the woods.
Yep.
And they just disappear. And they're never found. They don't find any trace of them.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen there. It could be animals.
Right.
It could be a tragic fall. It could be a drowning. It could be
wouldn't they find
nefarious activity?
Would they find the body? Or the equipment?
Well, it depends.
Or the clothing?
I mean, let's say you fall into a rapidly moving river and you get caught into some rocks.
Yeah,
and
I guess you're
you're beneath the surface. Forget it.
Eventually you'll turn up. Years later, maybe.
Animals will come and clean up your remains. Forget it. You're done.
Anyway, I mentioned it because I think that fear is just being alone in a vast place.
Yeah.
Because anything, like you said, you're not in control. Anything can happen to you. And it happens to people all the time. There's an interesting documentary. It's called 411 Missing, I believe.
Oh.
And it's all about people disappearing from national parks.
It's not Rescue 911 with William Shatner?
Rescue 9.
Do you remember that show?
Yes, I do remember.
Oh, I love that show as a kid.
First of all, William Shatner has embraced himself.
Can I ask you, how is that man? He's like 95 years old.
He's still doing it, man.
He's going into space, I heard.
Yeah, I heard that too.
He has a full head of hair.
Wow.
His skin looks as good as it did 40 years ago.
He's all fake. He's plastic.
I don't understand it.
Yeah. But anything he does, he's so over the top. Like, he hasn't even tried to be anything but that. So,
Yes.
good for him, I guess.
I think the greatest rendition of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds was the
Lucy
William
in the sky
Shatner version.
with diamonds. Yeah. Anyway.
So, one of the other innate fears I think that most people have, and actually I had it, and I still do to a degree, but because of the situation and circumstance I find myself in as an adult, I have to thrust myself into these situations to overcome it, and that's the fear of public speaking.
Ah, yes.
That's
listed as the number one fear.
A lot of people have that, and it is. If you've never done it, it is an intimidating thing.
It's intimidating even if you have done it.
Exactly.
Sure.
Of course, it doesn't even matter if it's 4 people or 400 people.
Right. If you can talk to 4 people, you can talk to 400 people.
And I think for me, I had to overcome that just because of circumstances I found myself in.
Yeah.
I've found for me to be able to overcome that, I have to be able to be well prepared for the topic at hand.
Yes.
I don't like to be just thrust into a situation and not know what I'm speaking about.
Yeah.
If I'm well prepared and I can speak intelligently about a certain subject, it makes it easier. I'm sure that's probably the case for most people.
Yeah. Well, also, I think the setting matters too. If you're, like you said, if you're a subject matter expert on something, it's going to be a lot easier for you to go up and talk than if they give you, let's say, okay, here's a perfect example. You have to give a training for something you've been doing for 20 years. You won't have a problem with it because you can fall to the level of your training, right?
Sure.
And you can relay the information that you've been given and that you've used for the last 20 years. Let's say there's a talent night and they want you to be a stand-up comedian and you got to go up there. That's completely different. And I think that would be much harder. So like you could probably do the first one, the professional presentation for 2,000 people.
Sure.
Not a problem. You go up in front of 50 people in a nightclub, try to do a comedy act. Good luck.
I've found myself in situations too that are where there's an instructor teaching a class, and you're kind of like the ancillary, you're kind of like the assistant.
It's easier to do that.
And then all of a sudden, that person will throw it on you without any warning to go ahead and teach this next period of instruction, and you're just like,
Yep. And that's why a lot of people fall. That's why people lean on PowerPoints, and they'll go, let's just, and they stare at the PowerPoint, and then they go, the next bullet, next bullet, and you're like, that doesn't work.
Yeah,
Nobody's listening to you at that point anyway.
Sure.
So I always find that public speaking is easier when you try to be funny, because then once you get people laughing, it's always easier. That's always worked for me.
You have to do you have to start with the attention gainer.
Attention gainer,
to kind of break the ice a little bit.
You try to be entertaining. I like to move. I don't like to stand in one place.
You like to move? What kind of moves you got?
You move left to right.
Do you move like Jagger?
I got the moves like Jagger. You do a little moonwalk. Yeah.
That's good.
Did you do breakdancing in the 80s?
So when I was a youth, I was into the breakdancing like you wouldn't believe.
Yes.
My favorite movie was Breakin'.
Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo?
No, the original Breakin', and if that's probably dating myself. But if you haven't seen Breakin'...
What are the characters' names?
Turbo.
Turbo
was a poppin' master. He used to pop like crazy. And Ozone. Turbo and Ozone were the two.
What was the white girl's name?
There was a white girl. I can't remember her name.
Julie or something like that. Karen.
But actually, the movie Breakin' was Jean-Claude Van Damme's first acting gig, screen gig.
What did he play?
So at the beginning of the film, Turbo and Ozone are having a dance off in the local park.
Dance off.
They're having a park dance off, and Van Damme is dressed in a wrestling singlet.
Oh,
and he is one of the characters in the like the circle forms.
Yes, there's
like a circle, and everybody
whether
dances.
It's a fight or a dance off.
Yeah, people dance in the middle of the circle. He's in the circle, and he's dancing like crazy. That was his first movie gig.
This is funny because this is personal with you. I remember an incident where in our youth, we used to go to clubs a lot.
Yes.
And try to meet women. That was basically why we would go there.
That was a fear of mine.
Yes.
Meeting a woman.
Well, it got easier. You know how easy it is to meet women now that you can't? Like, because, I'm married and happily so. But if I wanted to, man, I could be wheeling chicks left and right.
I don't know about that.
Of course, probably not. But anyway.
You're ugly.
Yes. So, and I'm very happy to be married if my wife is listening. However, I remember a club incident where you
were
highly intoxicated.
Per usual.
jumped into the middle of the dance floor and started breaking moves that no one had ever seen.
Nobody's ever seen them.
You were just cutting a rug,
Yes.
feet on fire.
Yep.
And some guy came up to you and goes, "Yo, man, you want to have a dance off?" And you were like,
No,
"Yeah."
he said you want a dance battle.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
You want a battle. He said you want a battle.
You
That's
want
what
a
he said.
dance battle. I don't remember what the outcome of that situation.
I won the battle,
You
dude.
did not.
But you know what? This actually ties right into our topic.
Whoa.
Because what do they call alcohol?
Spirits.
Liquid courage. Right? Because if you have a fear,
Yeah.
and
You get over it.
And I'm not proposing.
To drink alcohol.
I'm not a proponent of forcing people to drink alcohol.
Oh.
But if you have drank alcohol in the past,
Yes.
you understand the term liquid courage.
It lowers your inhibitions.
Because I was a shy, reserved person,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have a few beverages,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden I become.
But that's why people drink alcohol.
I become a
Makes them feel
cross
good.
between Michael Jackson and Mikhail Brezhnev on the dance floor, and I dance battled with this guy.
Yeah.
and I won.
You feel like you won that one.
I won the dance battle.
I like to sing when I'm intoxicated, which is funny because I don't sing well. But a lot of musicianship. A lot of stage presence is just charisma.
Yes,
and
confidence.
And confidence. If somebody is up there and is confident, you're more likely to overlook their deficiencies in singing ability.
Correct. But that goes hand in hand with what we were just talking about. The more alcohol you consume, and there's a fine line.
Oh, sure.
Because there's a line between
When you get all
overly intoxicated to where you can't even remember the words and you look like a fool.
Yes.
And a line where your
You're in the
inhibitions
zone.
are gone. You're in that zone,
Yes.
and we've been there.
Sure.
We've been on all sides.
Been
of it.
in the zone.
Yes.
It's hard to find the zone sometimes.
It's hard. It's hard.
Especially with women.
You have to.
But,
you got to be experienced at it. You know.
You have to thrust yourself in there
Yeah.
at just the right time.
But that's a fear, and fear is an interesting emotion.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Go ahead.
you mentioned fear of the opposite sex, right?
Yeah.
When you look back on it, what was the big deal? Like, let's say you walked up to a girl and you said, "Hey, you want to dance?" And then she says no. Okay.
Well,
You just turn around, you go back to where you were.
That's a confidence thing. That's a fear of failure.
Yeah.
It's a fear of being made fun of.
It's more afraid of the failure.
Especially for me, growing up, I was made fun of constantly. So I
still are.
I didn't want people to make fun of me.
Right.
But I will say this. It was. I don't want to delve into my previous dating scene.
Somebody might be listening.
I didn't have the confidence to be able to approach. Some guys just have the je ne sais quoi.
They do. We are not them.
To women flock to them,
That is
and they don't
not
have to
us.
put in much effort.
That's true.
I had to put in a lot of
Yeah,
effort.
me too.
But I was scared to do so because I had fear.
Yeah.
But I remember one specific example. I said, you know what? I was with a friend of mine. We were out at a local establishment, and I said, I'm going to try a different approach tonight with the ladies because I've a lot of, and I hate to say this for some reason, some attractive ladies like guys that are ass jerks.
Yes, that's true.
Jerk holes.
They like bad boys.
For some reason. I don't know why.
They like people that treat them badly.
Treat them like crap. So I said, I'm going to try that approach tonight.
It's called negging, right?
I don't know what it's called.
It's called negging when you say something negative.
Oh,
This is okay.
that's a term?
Yes.
Oh.
So this is a dating tactic,
Oh, okay.
and what you do is you'll go up to a woman and you initiate contact. And you say, "Hey, hi, how you doing?" Whatever. Then you say like a backhanded compliment. Like you go, "Oh, I saw that shirt on clearance at Marshall's the other day," right?
Okay.
So it's making her feel bad
Uh-huh.
in the hopes that turns her on.
I see.
It's called negging. You say something negative about them, like,
Okay.
"Oh yeah, you have that hairstyle that was popular 30 years ago.
Well, see,
Good job."
but that's kind of what I did that evening. But it wasn't as subtle as that.
Okay.
This attractive blonde girl walked by.
Attractive blonde lady girl.
My friend said, "You're not going to say anything." And as she walked by, I said something completely ridiculous.
What did you say?
I don't want to say it
Oh, you have to say it
because
now.
I don't really recall exactly what it was.
Oh.
But it was very rude. And she
Oh.
stopped in her tracks and she said, "What did you just say?"
Oh, no.
And I repeated
You
it.
thought that you were going downhill.
And I thought she was going to punch me in the
you
face.
thought this was a bad idea.
Mike,
Yes.
she sat down
You have to tell me what you said.
She sat down.
You have to tell me what you said.
And we continued a relationship.
Get out.
I swear to God.
What did you say?
I can't remember exactly.
Was it like about her?
It was, yes, specifically about her.
Did you say like you're fat or something like that?
I don't know, something along those lines. It was many years ago. I don't remember exactly.
But it worked for you. You have to be able to repeat
it worked,
that.
and I only did it one time, and it worked.
Wow.
But I felt so bad about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you probably don't feel good.
Because I'm not really a mean guy.
No.
I don't like to say
sometimes-
nasty things to
sometimes you can
people
be
unless
mean.
they piss me off.
That's true.
But
That's interesting.
anyway.
Well, talking about fear, and this actually dovetails into stuff we were talking about before with inherent fears.
Ooh.
But I wanted to talk briefly about people's innate ability to assess another person.
Yes.
So people, and without getting into too many specifics, we both are in a employment field where you deal with people who are not so nice. Let's just say that. So we're kind of you more than me are always on the alert for certain movements, certain signs, certain actions that people are doing in order to protect yourself, right?
Sure.
But everybody has the ability to discern whether somebody else is a threat, and you do that automatically. So the first time you meet somebody, it's within milliseconds. You're classifying them as this person's a threat, this person's not a threat, or I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. And you do that by their body language, by the way they look. Some people just give off that air. And we in the modern society kind of turn that off because you don't want to. If have you ever met somebody and that initially you've never met them before, you don't like them. As soon as they come up, you go, I don't like this dude.
Yes.
So that's your innate fear. That's your gut instinct that you don't trust this person.
And it goes back to what something we talked about early on in the show, and that you questioned me on in terms of how is it that, you're born and yet you still are fearful of, like, say, a wild animal.
Right.
That this kind of goes along the same line. It's an instinctual thing that you have. It's a sixth sense, if you will.
Right.
If you want to talk in paranormal terms, that you can sometimes just read the energy off of a person.
Yeah.
And get a vibe and a feel for who they are and what they're all about.
So how come that's what you just said is probably acceptable to 98% of the people that are listening, but what you just described is a paranormal thing. It's a sense that is not scientifically proven that you have it, but you do. You have the ability to you have the ability to read the energy of other people, and you do it all the time. You do it subconsciously, and that's how you form friendships. That's how you form romantic relationships. You're classifying people when you meet them.
Well, I would argue that there is no such thing as paranormal and supernatural. And what I mean by that is this. If you have that innate instinct to be able to judge a person based on the feelings and the energy that you get off of somebody, it's not paranormal. I agree. It is a normal thing.
Yeah.
It's just something that we can't quantify, that we
That's
can't really
interesting.
understand as a normal sense.
Because if you can do that, you can probably do other things
Possible.
with that type of ability.
Sure.
That you're like an X-Man.
Exactly.
You know the X-Men? I used to be a big fan of the X-Men. I don't like their movies.
You don't like the movies?
The movies are horrible. I don't like the movies at all. I used to like the comic book quite a bit.
What is an obscure X-Man that you think they should have a movie about?
Obscure X-Man. Well, I mean, the X-Men are pretty popular, but there's been a lot of them. I always had a crush on Rogue.
Oh, you like Rogue?
I like Rogue. You know what Rogue's superpower is?
Did you like the streak in her hair?
Yes.
Is that what you
liked?
liked?
I like the streak in her hair.
Did you?
And the outfit, very skin tight.
Yeah, they all wore skin tight.
Skin tight outfit. I saw you know what cosplay is. Look up cosplay.
Yeah, I've
some
heard.
people have no business wearing those things, but
Okay.
some of them do. Anyway, do you know what Rogue's superpower is?
Well, isn't she? She sucks the energy out of someone.
Yeah, so if her skin touches your skin,
Yeah.
she absorbs your energy.
Right.
I always thought that was cool.
So how do you get intimate with her?
That's a good question. So when she had a relationship with Gambit, who was the Louisiana boy who threw the cards.
Yes.
He's a pretty cool character, Gambit.
They never did a movie on him. They should though.
They should. When X-Men first came out, they were talking about having a movie. Jean-Claude Van Damme would have been the perfect casting for Gambit. He is French. From he could easily pull off that accent. Anyway, make a long story short, when they were getting romantic, there's a famous comic where they kiss, and I don't know what happens because I don't remember.
Well, I thought she almost killed him.
She probably did almost.
She
kill him.
sucked the life out of
Well,
him.
they all do that.
So you'd have to put some sort of barrier between you and her.
If they only made such a thing.
What kind of a barrier?
A barrier for intimate encounters.
Yes, you'd have to get all latex
Somebody
up
should invent that.
From head to toe. Can she suck your energy through the latex though? That's the question.
I don't know if she can suck it through there. It's been done probably. You would know.
I'm not sure if she can do that or not. All right, so I think we're getting to the end of the program here, and this was an interesting one because, we haven't been at this for quite some time, and we on occasion we will log into our hosting site.
Yep.
And we can see our statistics from around the world.
Around the world.
And at times we peak.
Yeah.
Just at random times, our listens will peak.
I think you know what that is. I think
What is that?
That's one person or two people listening to one show and they really like it, so they listen to the next one. They really like it. That's just one person listening to a bunch of our shows.
You know what's never a good sign? When you see
one
listen from Zimbabwe.
That's it.
So that person listened to one show, probably got about 5 minutes in and was
Probably
like,
not. And this show is not for everybody.
these guys are idiots.
That's probably correct.
Yes.
But yeah, so if you like the show at all, please rate us on whatever app you have. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can't really rate us, but you can share us. You can find us on social media. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. I look at those things. So drop us a line. You can also email us at theguys@hermitlight.com.
Yeah.
That's theguys@hermitlight.com.
And we will endeavor to get a little more regular, despite the
They make
Metamucil
things for
issues.
that, yeah.
We have a lot going on.
do.
This is not our full-time gig.
Unfortunately, we have lives.
So we have other things we have going on, but we will try to get a little more back on track.
And also check out the Red Queen Project. You heard their single earlier today.
You got it.
Nephilim.
That's right. So just remember, the truth exists. Believe it.